Hello and welcome to the Crimson Painter. I'm Zachary, your host, and today we're going to be painting some Imperial Fists. That is right, yellow and Defenders and Loyal. We're going to start out with a white primer, and this tutorial will be with an airbrush. Okay, so in case you didn't know, with an airbrush. Colours we use are Scale 75 Chestnut Ink, Gold Yellow and Moon Yellow from Vallejo Game colour range, and some Wraithbone from GW. Pretty straightforward. We will be using yellow's translucency to our advantage, and through this tutorial I will show you and tell you why we should do that. So we've started, like I mentioned, with white as our base coat. You can use tan or a cream colour, Wraithbone if you wanted to. Choice is up to you. I used white. So we're going to use the chestnut ink to start our pre-shading. However, how strong you go is really up to you. I've gone fairly light, but I have focused some strength around the back of the head and under the chin. It's your model, you do it how you want to do it and how you want to see it. If you don't have chestnut ink, an alternative would be Screamer Pink. Finish, however, will be slightly different. It will lean more to orange than it will brown. There's not much difference, but there will be a difference. So through this video we're going to be using yellow and its translucency to our advantage. If you've ever painted yellow with a brush and it isn't a nice opaque one, so containing white pigment typically, it doesn't cover great. I don't know why, it's just the way that pigment works. You could probably do some research and you could probably find out why, but when it comes down to it, it just doesn't do a great job. But when you use an airbrush, because it atomizes the particles and the pigments and the medium blah blah blah, it can go on smoother. This is how the model looks using Screamer Pink instead. But yeah, the way an airbrush works, if you do a bit of research, people will tell you how it works, but essentially you spray a mist, it atomizes the paint, it goes on smoother, and the translucency of the yellow, because it's weaker than the chestnut ink or the pink, it tints the colour, and that's how we can do essentially Imperial Fists really well. The first two clips, this one and the next one, are slightly darker because the white can throw off the camera a little bit, so I do apologise, but it will get brighter. Any video suggestions, feedback, stick in the comments. I will respond and read every comment to the best of my ability. Want to join some like-minded hobbyists? There are two links to two Facebook groups in the description. One is Honor and Heresy, and the other one is the IDIC Wargaming group on Facebook. Take gold yellow, stick it into the cup, add a drop or two of water, flow aid, dinner, whatever it is that you use when you airbrush to get it nice and thin. I've used water. Test it on your hand, test it on a paper towel, test it on a piece of paper, just check the consistency and it's flowing nicely. If it's too thin, it will spiderweb and it won't cover right. If it's too thick, it will spit and spat, and that's also terrible too. For those of you who are concerned how many drops of water I use to ratio of paint, I use about 4 drops of water to about 2 drops of paint. But I know what I'm looking for, so just make sure you take that into consideration when you're doing yours. We're now essentially going to be filtering the brown pre-shade that we've done with yellow. So we're going to be applying thin coats of yellow over the brown to build up to yellow. We won't get pure yellow unless we apply lots and lots of coats. That's what I meant about taking advantage of yellow's translucency. So the pre-shading we've done beforehand will bleed through, and then we'll do the shading for us. So make sure you take consideration and care when you're doing the pre-shading. So if you make a mess of it, you'll have a mess at the end. If you're not happy with how it looks, you can go back over the Chestnut ink with some white, use white paint or use white ink, use a mixture of two. Done that plenty of times, and then apply yellow back over it if you want a brighter yellow. We'll be doing that anyway with Moon Yellow, but if you don't have those colours or you don't want to go that far, then that's a step that you can take. This tutorial won't have a pin wash or an oil wash like I did with my own marines. It's for the sake of time. But if you're doing a pin wash, I'd recommend Agrax Earthshade. It's a nice strong colour and it'll contrast nicely to the yellow. I use an oil wash, so gloss varnish. I then use Winsor & Newton Burnt Umber with White Spirit, and then I matte varnished it afterwards. In case you want to follow exactly what I did on my own marine that I posted up in the Honour and Heresy Facebook group and the IDIC War Gamers group on Facebook. We're now going to take Moon Yellow and do some highlights. This is just the last clip but brighter, so you can see what it's looking like in real light. Aim for the middle of the face, top of the helmet, wherever light would catch. If you're doing a full marine, think kneecaps, ankles, back of ankles, tops of backpacks. So I've prepared the Moon Yellow exactly the same way. 3 drops of water and about 2 drops of paint. Same as before, but we're just going to concentrate it where the highlights are now. Build it up slowly. There's no point ruining all the work that we've done already by being trigger happy. I'm just expecting the model over. I want to make sure I'm happy with my work. Take the time to do the same with yours. I would then recommend at this stage, if you're going to go for the oil wash, gloss varnish it, do the oil wash, matte varnish it, then highlight it. If you're doing the pin wash, do the same thing, you just don't need the gloss varnish. Be careful with airbrush layers, they're very delicate, so if you want to, I would recommend putting a matte varnish on at intervals. You could do it after the ink, after the gold yellow, after the moon yellow, because you can find, and I've had it plenty of times, that the paint can rub off, let alone scratch off really easily. With my own marine actually, I dropped the backpack on the floor, rolled over it with the wheel, and it was like, oh, I'm going to do battle damage now. Turned out really well, but I didn't want to do the battle damage in the first place. So I believe I'm probably explaining to my friend who I've done these videos for where to put the paint. So this should give you plenty of time to catch up and see how your work's looking. Now take Wraithbone and water and just make it nice and smooth. Test it on the back of your hand, check it on your nail, check it on your glove, wherever it is that you've got around you that's a smooth surface. Just try it. Get a fine point and then just highlight the edges. I would suggest around the eye sockets, around the little vent on the top of the helmet and above the ears. They're the best places to go. Now this is not going to be the smoothest or the thinnest lines of highlighting, but there you go. Another little tip, if you haven't already done the eyes, is you can get a very fine and well tipped or well pointed paintbrush and angle it so you can highlight the tops of the eye sockets without having to draw a line. I'd recommend doing that before you paint the eye sockets, if that's how you're going to approach it, so you don't accidentally put paint onto your lenses. But yeah, this is pretty much me just highlighting around now. Follow the same thought process and the same lighting that you've used for the airbrush steps when applying this highlight. There's no point highlighting the darkest areas where you're not going to see either, because it's probably not how it would look. As always folks, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, any feedback, I'd love to see it in the comments. As always, thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of the video.